demonstrate two products that I use here at McPherson Arts and Crafts when I'm doing my reborning. The two products are, one is called a Fantastick. It's a coloring tool brush and it has a brush point to it. And the other one that's very similar but is just a little bit skinnier or narrower than this one is the Craft Nibs and the nib holder that comes in your package here. I use these two products when I'm doing my creases on my vinyl dolls. I find that both of these products will absorb more paint than a brush does, and therefore it allows you to keep going without reloading that nib or reloading a brush. Therefore it's cutting down a bit of your time, and as you're concentrating you can keep going with that concentration instead of thinking I have to dip in my brush back into the paint because I'm losing paint. So I'm going to demonstrate this a little bit for you and show you how I use this. So inside here, the nib and the nib holder, you'll have little nibs like this. Some people like to use these nibs just by themselves, and that's fine. But it does come with this kit. It does come with a little holder, and you just push it into the little holder, and it gives you a little more surface to maneuver the brush around, or the little tip there. This is just a crease paint I've taken right out of the jar from the Genesis paint. It's our strawberry creases and wrinkles mix, and you just roll this little nib right into that paint, kind of smooth it in, and just to make sure there's no chunks on the side, I will just kind of pat it on the side of your dish. And we'll start with that to begin with. I have a foot here with lots of those creases and wrinkles on. So I'm going to just take this little nib. It just fits nicely right into those little small crevices where those creases and wrinkles are. And as well as I find this nib is really nice for kind of blending it in as it puts the paint on. So you don't get quite a straight lining work that you do with a brush. So it kind of blends at the same time as it applies the paint. And as you see, I can keep going. Normally I would have picked up some more paint with a brush, but I just keep going and going and going. Now that's the smaller nibs, and I like to use them for the very small little creases in there. The other one, the Fantastick, has a very fine point on it, but it's just thicker in and around. But you use it mostly the same way. I will dip that little tip in there and just pounce it on the side to make sure I haven't picked up any great big clumps of paint. And I will go into the creases areas here. It has just a little bit of a thicker tip to it, but it does work nicely, and it will keep going and going and going for your larger creases. This is great for bigger dolls as well, because their creases are a little bit deeper, and this goes in and blends. You see how nicely that stick just blends that paint in and gives you just that natural little crease look all in one step, instead of going back in and pouncing it with a sponge or smoothing it out. This little tip nib does all that all at once. So as you see, I have done all of this in very little time, and I can keep going and going. You'll know when to reload it, of course, when there isn't any paint coming off, but you'll be surprised how much this will carry the paint through for you and give you that nice result on your doll. The other thing is, once you have these nibs are sitting for a day or two, and you want to have a clean tip on there to perhaps put another color of paint on there, you just sharpen them in your regular pencil sharpeners, and it will take off the areas that had paint on them. The big nibs go into a big sharpener here, and you just peel them off, and you will get that will come off as you go. And with the small ones, this sharpener here, you'll see, has two holes with it. So the little ones I tend to put into the little sharpener here, and you see how it just peels right off the tips, and it leaves your tips, oops, it just wants to stick a little bit, quite pointy. Sometimes on the tips you'll get that little flare coming up, and that's just something you can just take a pair of scissors and just snip it off. See, and I still got my nice little fine point there ready to go and ready to put back into my paint, and away I go on my vinyl doll. So that's just a little tip for the day, and sometimes your time is worth looking at another little product so that you can get to other things faster.